What is going on? This is your old pal CHH, and today's the day. We're reviewing the first of the two Nightmare on Elm Street 4Ks I got. Obviously, I ordered the overseas bundle that has the hard shell box, the steelbook, and all that. And we'll look at we'll look at that release in detail when we get that. But this is the one that I think more people are going to be interested in because we're going to be talking about like how good the movie looked and everything. We've got A Nightmare on Elm Street, the 4K UHD release. Let's just talk about this artwork. When this was announced, there were a lot of vocal people that were just like groaning, audibly groaning at this. Look, I get it. I get it. It's like, I think for me what it is I think the reason I understand the distaste to this, because to me, I think what people see this as is laziness in the sense that you guys are recycling a 20-plus-year-old DVD cover for the 4K. Albeit, you can clearly tell there's some arguments whether this is part 3 or part 4 Freddy. Regardless of that, it's not Freddy from part 1 on the cover of this. There's a couple ways you can look at this. Like, I have a track record of not only forgiving but enjoying the silly, a lot of times incorrect artwork that Paramount would do with their Friday the 13th DVDs. So I laugh at this, but it's like I understand it. You know, they're recycling artwork that's over 20 years old for this. The only thing that I'll say about this that's actually pretty cool is it's really glossy and kind of holographic. When you get it and you look at it, there's like a little bit of a holographic shine to it. So that's kind of cool. This includes both a theatrical and unrated version, which obviously I watched the unrated version particularly for this review. And yeah, let's just talk about it, man. It's okay, so let me set this next to my boy for a second. Guys, A Nightmare on Elm Street on 4K. I mean, I had already had a bunch of people message me saying, Christian, it looks good, blah, 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 blah. But let's just talk about it because this is going to be the majority of what this review is about. We'll look at the review's physical aspects in detail in a second, but like the first thing I noticed when watching A Nightmare on Elm Street is I feel like the color timing of the 4K is a bit different from the Blu-ray releases or the Blu-ray release of the film. I feel it's definitely like got a more natural look, but especially in the very, very opening where you've got the boxed piece in the beginning where you're seeing Freddy, grabbing all the mechanics and stuff to make the glove, and you got the lower third has the title piece and everything going on right there. I do think that the 4K definitely looks more cinematic, which is, to me, extremely important. They don't look so glossy and fake as some old releases do when you look at Blu-ray. A lot of times on Blu-ray, everything was about, like, we talk about James Cameron taking all the grain out of his movies and stuff like that. For a big portion of the Blu-ray era, I feel like a lot of movies were doing that. They went out of their way to take all the natural aspects of the movie out and just make it look shiny like a new toy on Blu-ray, which is how I feel those Elm Street ones looked for the most part, particularly part 1. It's a little bit less saturated than the Blu-ray, which has a more natural look to it, which I like. That doesn't mean that I dislike the Blu-ray a whole lot either, but I do notice a little bit of differences there. The 4K in general, and in a general sense, I will say is satisfactory. I mean, it looks really good. It looks great even. It's hard. Like, I want to be overtly excited because we have A Nightmare on Elm Street on 4K. Don't get me wrong, I'm beyond happy we have A Nightmare on Elm Street on 4K. It's my favorite horror franchise, so it's like, yes, I'm so excited. The problem is, and this is beating a dead horse, but the reality is, yeah, this is a 4K that should have come out years ago because I look at the channel recently. We just reviewed Second Sight's release of Hitcher. We even look at, even though they're lesser quality titles, the quality of the boutique restoration with 4K in movies like The Howling 2, which looks so good, you kind of chuckle watching it because of how good it looks. So it's like, it's hard to be overtly excited about the Nightmare on Elm Street 4K. With that being said, though, the safe thing I can say is the movie looks really good. A lot of the things I noticed that were particularly above the previous releases is definitely the boiler room stuff. And I found the classroom scenes to look exceptional. One of the moments of the film to me that looked so good it wasn't even funny was when Nancy is going in the hallway. She's had her nightmare in class, and she sees the girl dressed like Freddy and says, "No running in the hall." That part looked, for some reason, incredibly well. Even so much, like, noticeably better than the rest of the movie. It's just like, it was perfectly framed when they shot that. The sharpness of the girl is perfect. It looks so good. That moment was like, wow, that's incredibly noticeable. And another moment of the film that I thought was a real standout in the 4K is the fire stunt scene, which it's kind of funny watching it because it looks like Fat Freddy, but the reality is it's a stunt person wearing, you know, the proper equipment with the Freddy attire over that, so it looks like a husky Freddy that's on fire, you know, trying to go up the stairs. But the fire scene, something about fire, if you're a 4K person, you'll notice this, something about fire looks so good on film, and no difference here. Again, a lot of the nighttime stuff is where you're going to see more clarity, more definition, and it's a great 4K. It's a solid 9 out of 10, which is good, of course, but it's like we shouldn't be even questioning that this should look good at this point. There should be standards to 4K. I feel like the technology for restoring movies now has been mastered, and I know the process is different from film to film a little bit, but yeah. So I'm gonna give 2 thumbs up for the 4K. I was happy with the 4K. Now with the unrated cut, I don't remember offhand if the DVDs or Blu-ray was unrated. I think I have previous Laserdisc releases that definitely were, and it's nothing to honestly write home about in terms of, you know, the things you're gonna see in it. It's just minor little things. I feel like in Johnny Depp's scene when the blood hits the ceiling, you get a little bit more, and you actually see the blood kind of swirling to the left or to the right a little bit in that. And of course that scene looks great too. So the unrated cut's really the way to go. And I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like people have probably seen this before, this cut. I don't remember if it's on the DVDs or not, but I know I've seen it before. Another moment of the film, too, that really stood out for me, when Nick Corey, the actor, which that wasn't even his real name, but when he was getting, you know, the wrap around the neck when Freddy was going to hang him, that looked really good, too, which that was kind of reverse filming, too, where they play it back in reverse to get that dream illusion. What can I say, guys? It's a great day. We have a Nightmare on Elm Street on 4K. This is so great. The excitement with this kind of finally hitting makes me feel good because I'll be honest, when this was announced, it just seemed like there was so much negative response. But I think the reality is this is what I'm learning after being on the internet for so long. It's a lot like the viewers of this channel. If people disagree with me or have something they want to say to me that's in a disagreement or just a negative response, like, Christian, you look like a jackass, or Christian, you're an idiot, they'll voice that. A lot of times when people are happy or they're excited about something, they'll just watch the video and they'll be like, oh, cool, Christian just talked about Rachel Talalay restoring Freddy's Dead. That means the rest of the movie's going to go, cool. Then they move on with their day. So now that the movie's out and I'm seeing how well it's sold and obviously the response from Warner Brothers to where they're restoring the rest of these movies now, that's fantastic. So the picture quality is really good, guys. It's going to be the way for people to watch Elm Street now. And I'm happy with it. It was definitely a great experience, a very cinematic experience to watch this in 4K, and I think people are going to be really happy. But just note, my biggest thing to take away is I feel like the color timing is a little bit different from the Blu-ray, and that'll be something if you want to compare yourself watching back and forth. I don't have the technology to record both and then put screenshots up here at this time, but you'll notice that it's a little bit more natural looking on the 4K, which I think is a good thing. All right, guys, so when it comes to the actual release, like we kind of talked about earlier, you know, I don't think it's that bad. I mean, it's recycled. It's 20-plus-year-old DVD art. It might even been on the collector's edition VHS, but I like it. Like, what can I say? I do like that it's shiny, and here's the thing to note. This does not come with a Blu-ray, which is, I'll be honest with you, I will give it a knock on that because a lot of people still aren't on the 4K train yet, and it'd be nice if they would have done the restored version on a Blu-ray for people to be able to own and watch that way. I feel like the only way they can enjoy that now is if they just go digital, get the movie digitally. But the good thing about this is they did not use a cheap recyclable case, which, look, I'm a recyclable guy. I do separate my plastics. But I hate it with cases like this. It just damages the cases. If you kind of put your stuff on the shelf and pack it tight, you'll ruin them, and they can't withstand it. So I like that they used a good case for this. And the disc art is classic. We've got a Nightmare on Elm Street disc art on there in red, classic red. There are some special features on here that are legacy special features. By the way, this does have Dolby Atmos too, and the movie just kicked ass. on the soundbar. I think I told you guys I got a bigger, better soundbar in the living room that is a Dolby Atmos soundbar, and I've got a big bass subwoofer that goes with it too. So the audio for this was total rock and roll, which was fantastic. So let's look at the legacy features on this and go over that, because there's nothing new on here. But in the defense of Warner Brothers, not that they paid me to say any of this, it's kind of hard to add much, because between all the legacy features they'd already done on previous releases, including the Never Sleep Again documentary. No, not the big 8-hour one. I'm talking about the one, Never Sleep Again, that was made for the DVD Infinifilms release, which is sensational. It's kind of hard to add more. So, with that being said, let's actually go look at what they do have. All right, guys, so we have the theatrical and uncut versions. Ready, Freddy Focus Points. See alternate takes and learn filmmaking secrets behind the Nightmare on Elm Street by jumping to video highlights by watching the movie. Who does that anymore? Commentaries, we have one with director Wes Craven, co-star Heather Langenkamp and John Saxon, and cinematographer Jacques Aiken. We have another one with Wes Craven, co-star Robert Englund, Heather Langenkamp, and Ronnie Blakely, and producer Robert Shea and co-producer Sarah Reicher. Alternate endings, which I think I like most of the alternate endings better, to be honest with you. And 3, featurettes, The House That Freddy Built, The Legacy of New Line Horror, Never Sleep Again, The Making of a Nightmare on Elm Street, and that's fantastic, guys, I'm telling you. And Night Terrors, The Origins of Wes Craven's Nightmares. So if you haven't watched the original version of Never Sleep Again, which basically is the making of the first movie, I think that is as good, if not better, than the segment that was used for Part 1's Nightmare on Elm Street in the big 7+ hour, however long it is, Never Sleep Again documentary. That's just my opinion, but my point is I think it's done very, very well. So there you have it on the features, guys. It's a little bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, I am so thrilled and happy I have this. I'm so happy because now I can watch A Nightmare on Elm Street, the classic, what I consider to be one of the greatest horror films, and most of us consider to be one of the greatest horror films of all time, in 4K high definition. One thing, I forgot the person who said this to me, but somebody said that a scream was missing when Nick Corey gets tackled by John Saxon in the film. They told me, I forgot who told me this, but I'll be honest with you, that's probably true. I have no reason to believe this person would make this up, but it wasn't even something I noticed watching the film, which may be shame on me, but keep that in mind. As far as anything else, I didn't notice any kind of other technical audio or visual issues whatsoever with the release. So that's that. So let me know if anybody else noticed that, or if in the movie watching that. With all that being said, though, guys, I think this is going to be good enough for most people, but we're going to be left wanting a little bit more. The question is this the only release A Nightmare on Elm Street's going to have on 4K? I don't know. I don't know. That remains to be seen. I do think that eventually they're going to have some sort of a box set, but obviously, like I said, we know that they're restoring all these films. What happens in the future remains to be seen on how they release these films, or what they may do with Part 1 again down the road. We don't know. Anyway, guys, there it is, A Nightmare on Elm Street 4K release. I'm going to give the release in total an 8 out of 10. Just a good standard 4K release for a movie that we would have liked a little bit more with A Nightmare on Elm Street, but at the end of the day, it's a good 4K. Let me know if you guys have watched your 4K of A Nightmare on Elm Street yet. Let me know what your thoughts on it are, and let me know what you hope to get with the Elm Street series in the future. You never know, guys. These people may be paying attention. Make your voices heard in the comments below. For now, this is your old pal CHH saying, we finally have it, A Nightmare on Elm Street in 4K UHD. Huge giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind the scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.